Please give a big Steel City welcome to Khary Payton, Jenna Elfman, Christine Evangelista, and Austin Amelio.
Hi guys, welcome.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing? I am the governor, and I will be your moderator for this panel. We're going to have some people asking questions, but I actually have a question for Khary. Now, it's my understanding at the end of the series you were not entirely pleased with the title that your particular character received.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Is there a reason why you don't like the title of governor?
You want to guess? I'll let you guess. How many governors in the apocalypse haven't gone absolutely batshit crazy on this show? I was like, I got a feeling I'm going to lose an eye. All kinds of bad things are going to happen to me. So yeah. I was like regent, mayor, anything, you know?
King.
Librarian. I'll take anything other than governor, but I got to live with it.
Well, I think it's a mighty fine title, personally.
I would think you would. You just the most Savannah-sounding governor I ever heard.
Thanks, I think. Woodbury is a melting pot.
Okay, there you go.
That's all I got to say. And again, we have a line here, so please come on over. And we have our first question.
Hi, guys. Khary, first off, I told you yesterday, I just wanted to say it again, I'm sure everyone in here agrees, you nailed the finale. I mean, there's so many shows that don't end well, and that finale nailed it.
I can only take a little credit for that. I didn't write it, but I think they did a good job.
And I will be at your table tomorrow with that shirt on that I know you love.
Exactly.
But my question is for Christine. Since you told me you've caught up, or you're caught up on The Walking Dead, what would Sherry think of Negan now, after his arc where he kind of redeemed himself in most people's eyes?
I get this question a lot. And I'm not sure what she would think of him now. I think it's hard to accept him for who he is, but I think of the phrase, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And that's what sort of comes to mind, where, she could forgive, but I don't think she'll ever forget.
But is he still an enemy?
I don't think she'll ever trust him. No. I couldn't imagine
screw that
trusting
guy.
him. No.
Well, Ezekiel wasn't too pleased with Negan either, and, that was a great scene in that final season. But here's our next question.
Hi, this question is for Jenna. Just to start off by saying, a lot of romantic arcs in horror things, they're okay. They're okay, but the June-John storyline just really grabbed me more than any other one through all the series. I mean, there's a lot of the shipping, particularly with Daryl, but the June-John one just really got to me, and I think it really has to do with your chemistry with Garrett, and it just really came off very well. Can you describe what it was like doing that arc, the beginning, and showing up in that camp, and how the two of you worked that? Because maybe you don't realize how strong that worked in the fan base.
Well, I certainly appreciate everyone's beautiful response to it. I think I became aware because you were also communicative in the most beautiful way about how it touched you, and I really am happy about that. When I had my first episode with Garrett, I didn't even know there was going to be a romantic storyline when I joined. I just knew, your character used to be a trauma nurse before the apocalypse, and she lost her daughter, and that's all I knew. No, I had no idea there was going to be a romantic anything until I got the script. Then I was like, this is really cool. Huh. Okay. And I didn't even know. I knew it was like a flashback episode of what happened before. Anyway, Garrett and I there wasn't anything consciously done. It's just how we were together. That's just how we worked together. And the writing supported it, and he was received me and I received him. And I think it's just one of those things that happens or it doesn't. But we didn't, or he maybe consciously, and I just responded. I don't know. It wasn't anything we even talked about. We just showed up on set and started working together, and it's just what happened, and it's just what consistently happened. So I think that's a blessing, because you can't force that kind of chemistry. It's just what it is, If it's there, it's cool.
That's so crazy to me because that first episode where Garrett came on, I mean that whole speech was about you, and I don't. Everybody else, we're just waiting for you to show up, And that you didn't even know about it is perfect for this show because when you audition, they never tell you anything. You have no idea. I'm the only person who knew because they just changed my tiger to a lion named Nala when I auditioned, and I figured it out that it was Ezekiel. But mine, I think I was the only person who had any idea what their character was going to be.
We didn't know either.
Right,
we
right.
had no idea who we were playing.
Vulnerable. I know. Especially
you just show up
when you care about what you're like, you want to give. Yeah. And when you have no idea you're in a vacuum, it's awkward, huh?
That is awesome. Next question here.
Hi. So I have a question for all of you. If you, in the main Walking Dead series, if you could have a scene with a past character or a character that entered after you left, who would it be? Because I personally would love to see a conversation between Herschel and Negan, and then Abraham go toe-to-toe with Beta. So, is there any, and how would your character react to that character?
I mean, I always say Glenn. Glenn was my favorite, and they killed him the night before I got on the show. It was like, hey, there's this really cool guy. You'd love to meet him. Yeah, he's dead. So that I would have loved. I also would have, between Glenn and Abraham, honestly, both of the guys who died right before, they at least Michael was hanging out. Michael Cudlitz was hanging out on set the episode later because he was trying to throw everybody off about who might have gotten killed. And so we got to hang out, and he kind of was the guy who introduced me. He was like, okay, this is what's about to happen. Everybody's about to lose their mind about you. You need to get your mind around what's going to happen. And but I got to spend no time, with Glenn. So that would have been nice. But yeah.
I would love June and Carol to have some scenes together. I just feel like that would work well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good times.
I'm gonna have to say Rick. I think. Andy Lincoln came up and introduced himself to us when we first got the job and we found out who we were playing. And I just think he's such a solid actor, but such a great leader in the community. And I think that he would be a really good fit for our storyline. But yeah, I would have to go with Rick. Yeah. I'm bummed I never got to work with him.
Rest in peace, but I'd have to say Herschel. Yeah, to me, he was just so soft-hearted and I don't know, he was a really giving actor. And I got to hang out with him outside of the show a little bit, and he was just the coolest cat ever. So, yeah, that would be my choice.
I'm very sorry about Herschel. Our next question.
I have two questions for all of you. One is, what was your favorite moment, whether in front of the camera or behind the camera? And also, my mom came with me today, but she's not coming till tomorrow, and she's a huge fan of The Walking Dead. I was just wondering, since this is going on live stream, if you could just wish her a happy birthday, just say happy birthday or something.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday.
We'll be right over. Oh, there was a question after that. Too.
Exactly. It was the favorite moment.
Yeah, favorite moment. Well, selfishly, I got to have two of my kids be on the show, and the funny thing was, it was my daughter was on the show. I tried to get my 14-year-old and my 11-year-old. They were both visiting in Georgia, and I was like, well, I gotta go to work. They need a babysitter. Why don't they just come to work with me? Hey, why don't they just put them in the show? And And so I asked him. I was like, "Would you guys want to be like a little in the background, you know?" And my 14-year-old was like, "Nah, I've got videos I need to edit for my burgeoning music anime video collection, so I don't have time for your little TV show, Dad." So, but my daughter was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." And so it was the Halloween festival. She ended up playing the little girl who dressed up as Mercer, and I was talking to her. I was like, you know what? Now I know this is like make believe and fun, but it's also a job, and you need to listen to everybody. And I could not have been more proud. I came to her a couple of hours later, and I asked her how it was going, and she was just like, "Oh, well, I met so-and-so and so-and-so, and we've decided that what I do, they told me to go here and to stand over here and wave at so-and-so. So in my mind, I'm thinking that this," and she had a whole backstory, and my heart was just like, she's a little actor. I don't want her to do this business, but she'd be amazing. You know, please be an engineer, but if not, you'd be amazing. And it just, I honestly was just, I love her so much. She's such a great kid. All right, I'm starting to tear up about, but she just made me so proud that day, and her little brother Eli is actually Rosie, who is Eugene and Margot.
Max.
What's Margot's character's name?
Max.
Max, yes. Eugene and Max's daughter Rosie ended up playing. And he just kind of cooed and smiled at the right time, so. He was still amazing too, but selfishly, those are my two favorite moments. Yeah, so top that, guys.
Yeah, that was really good. I think my favorite moment was coming on Fear the Walking Dead, and it had been years since I saw you, and been a part of the world. And my first day on set, they wanted to keep the storyline really secret, so they have me pull up in this van with like the windows are darkened out, and they have all these like big umbrellas that they're walking me under just in case anybody's on the street is kind of watching or filming, just to keep it secret that Sherry's coming back on the show and being reunited with Dwight. And Coleman was directing the episode, so it was like this really wonderful welcome back to meet old friends, new friends, and just be in a really wonderful environment. And it just felt so good to be back. And I think even that scene itself, this reunion with these two characters, it resonated for so many different reasons with all of the viewers, and it meant so much to me. And it just made me feel really good. So it was that was, I think, definitely on screen and off screen, one of my favorite moments on the show. You, buddy?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Do you have one? Yeah.
Well, I do have, on our very last day filming Fear the Walking Dead a couple weeks ago, speaking of our children on set with us and how proud, my 13-year-old wants to be a director and a filmmaker. And so he just turned 13, and we got him a camera for his birthday, and he's been taking lessons every day with a cinematographer friend of ours. And he's very committed and interested and actually really smart. Yeah. And so our last 2 days of filming, I brought him with me to Savannah, and he was on set with me. And, you know, it was very intense, like the last 2 days of playing June ever. Was very emotional, and to have, and it's also as a parent, you know, when you're commuting, you're away from your kids working, it's a thing. And to have him on set with me, like I'd go through hair and makeup and maybe they weren't ready for me on set. He's like, can I just hop in the van and go to set? Like, I don't have to wait with you, right? He just wanted to get on set. And the cameraman and our cinematographer and Michael Satrazemis was directing, and he was just like, have him come, have him watch me, have him watch the cinematographer. And he was talking with all the camera guys, and they were all, our set is always so welcoming of children and letting them be exposed to it. They were having him sit on the camera, and they were talking to him about and answering all his questions, and he was just on set till the wee hours of the night, like so interested. And then when we finished the very last thing, and Mikey Satrazemis was giving his goodbye and thank you speech to us, my son had his camera and he was filming the whole thing. Really? Yeah, he filmed the whole thing. And he was like, the way he was holding the camera, he was really being a filmmaker. Yeah. and to have sort of the reverse of receiving that from your child on the job that's meant so much to you. It meant a lot to me, and to have the next generation while Mikey was talking. It was just a full circle, beautiful moment, and that was really cool.
Yeah, because it meant so much because when I started this show and I was gone for so long, Maya was the one who was like, Daddy, quit your job. He was like, adults quit their job all the time. Just come back home. And to know that, you know, she came and had such a great time and gave her so much of herself, you know, and I mean, it's crazy when you see them start to become little people, you know? You see them interested in something, and you can see them, the taller version of them doing that, right? Although your kid's probably
He's taller
already.
than me.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's probably huge. But still, you know, that's so special. That's amazing.
I understand your emotion.
Well, I guess I can't say my kid being on set because there's been so many. But
He was on set, though.
He was. That was a great moment. But I think my favorite moment or moments was we had to do a lot of horse riding on Fear the Walking Dead, and that was really nice. There's a sense of danger involved. I like that. Also, your energy has to be real centered. The horse knows whether or not you're anxious or you're off or any of these just tiny little things. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought that was really fun.
I loved riding horses on the show.
Yeah,
they had kind of a dedicated stable. I don't know, did they have that in Austin?
We had in Austin.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be riding a horse on the show for like months, and I'd just be there every day. You know, I loved it so much. It was like, I mean, my ass killing me, but I had a great. I mean, you know that they would have horseback riding dedicated. You got to take advantage of that. You know what I mean? It was such a great time.
Yeah, that was pretty special.
I was so jealous of you guys in season 7 because I got to do some horse work in season 6, and I was like, it's like my most favorite thing. I get so happy when there's any animal is around. I'm a happy person. And then I was like, ooh, in season 7. And then I was like in the tower with Strand, and they were out on horses like the whole time, and I was like, meow. I was so jealous.
I wanted to adopt my horse so badly.
Totally.
I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to put him, but I'll figure it out. His name was Bob. He was so great.
My horse was so mean, but but it was because he was so smart, and he was like, if you don't know what you're doing, then I'm gonna take over, and he was beautiful. He was all black and shiny, and it was like, and he taught me so much because, like you said, it can feel it, you know, and if you take your eye off the ball, he's like, I'm headed back to the barn whether you want to or not. And he taught me so much. But yeah, I didn't want that horse. That horse was crazy.
A quick follow-up, Khary. Is Maya now wanting to follow in your footsteps? And
Absolutely, she is. Yeah, absolutely, she is.
I understand she's bonded with her friend Riley, who's also in acting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The funny thing is Carlos Alazraqui, who most people know from Reno 911, but his daughter and my daughter turned out to be best friends. We live around the corner from each other, and they're all trying to push her into it. And I was like, but you'd be such a wonderful engineer, you know, or be a producer, you know, be in charge of everyone, you know. But here's the thing: there's no way to stop them. If they got the passion for it, there's no way to stop them. I'm just gonna throw little obstacles in the way to make sure that's really what she wants to do. That's all.
As any good dad would.
There you go.
All right, we have another question over here.
So you know how you act in your show, right? If a real zombie apocalypse would happen in real life, how would you act? Would you act the same way in the show?
I'd go full mama bear protecting my family.
Yeah. Dude, I think I would act exactly like Ezekiel, because to mask the fact that I was scared out of my friggin' mind, you know, I think the way that I think that's what he was doing. I have this idea in my head that when Ezekiel started, he talked like that, and everybody kind of fell into line, and he was just like, I can't believe this is working. Should I keep doing it? Hello, everyone. I have a tiger. But just constantly, just thinking this is horrible. This is never going to work. Yeah, so I think that's the way I'll go.
I love that scene with you and Carol when you were like in the front, the theater seats.
Oh, yeah,
or whatever, and you're just like walking her through, like kind of fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
And she was just like really trying to like figure you out. I thought that was a great scene because it was sort of like seeing Ezekiel at his most vulnerable with her.
Yeah, that was great because I think he found somebody that he was like, you know what, I can't don't bullshit a bullshitter. Yeah. Let's be real. Yeah. And that's one of my favorites. Absolutely.
All right, awesome. We have another question over here.
Yeah, I had a question for Christine and Austin. I feel like the dynamic between The Walking Dead and Fear is very different. So how did you feel having to go from one set to another and having to adapt to that difference in the different shows?
Well, it didn't feel that different to me. I think because so much of both of these worlds, it's very insular. There's a lot of the same producers and writers and then actors, of course. We have Lenny and we had Austin on the show too. So for me, it just felt very familiar and very at home. What was different was the character transition between the two shows where Sherry leaves for a long period of time and really develops this tougher exterior. And I think over time, much more resiliency. So there was, for me, there was a hardened version of Sherry that I really needed to think about between the two shows as the years went on when she spent more and more time alone. And that was something that was different for me to think about. What is the next evolution of this woman? And that was a really compelling part for me to want to join the show again, for sure, thinking about that time in between. But day to day working, I mean, everyone we work with. I mean, I've never worked with you, and right. I like you so much. Everyone is so easy to work with and really cool, and everyone just works really hard, and they're all really passionate. So as a work environment, it's totally the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there wasn't much of a difference. We're in hot climates. It was very uncomfortable. You're getting dirty. No, but
very dirty.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the trajectory of the character that was different. Dwight in The Walking Dead was super reactionary and and then in Fear the Walking Dead, he's just sort of like a drug addict, like looking for his wife. That's how I pictured it. I don't know. Obsessed with trying to find her and get her back. So it really all felt the same, though. To be honest, it's great.
Also, because they added the laugh track after, so when you're doing it, it doesn't feel like the comedy that it is.
Yeah.
So that's something. That's a little inside information.
What's funny is though it does feel very small. Like on The Walking Dead, it felt like you were making like a small independent film because you're in the woods and it's like there's not much going on. Fear sort of felt like that too, and then you realize, you go to like some weird city in Europe and people know who you are, and you're like, oh, that's right, I forgot we're doing this. It never really felt like this big thing that you were making.
Yeah, I kind of forgot everybody's emotional tie to the show, and then we had the finale for the Walking Dead, and we were sitting in the audience with all of the fans of the show, and people started screaming and gasping and yelling, and I was like, I was freaked out for a second, and I was like, oh, that's right. This is what everybody's doing in their living room that we don't get to see. That you're yelling at the TV, that you're like, don't you kill my boy, And you forget that there is this intense emotional connection that everybody's got to it.
I was there. It was great to watch it with everybody. It felt like it was, a celebration of the end of the show with you guys, but it was also like the fans are a character in this experience, and to be there and experience it all with everyone like an ecosystem, sharing the emotions and the history of it. It was like a celebration of all of the collective emotions of the journey you guys went on.
So cool. It's like an emotional wave that's happening in the audience as you're watching, and to think that that's happening literally, like you say, all over the world. It's happening. You know, it's a crazy thing to be a part of, and it's big. It also makes you feel tiny, you know, because you really are a tiny part of this thing. And I mean, I suppose there's some people who could, you know, feel elevated, but in a weird way, it makes you feel like, man, because we're such a small part of this huge community, you know, that honestly we all have, you know, Norman to thank for, because I'm always say I'm just you know, getting a little bit of the spice off of his beautiful boots, you know, because you know, Norman, he's just you know, he walks around, he's like a superhero. I don't know how you stand like that without thinking about it, but he does. He does think about his hair though. But he stands like that and just cool like that, you know, and he doesn't even try. I don't know how he does it.
Just so people know, we still have time for more questions, so if you want to come on over. And here's our next question for you guys.
Okay. This is a question for everyone. If you could play any other character, could have played any other character in the universe, which character would have you liked to play?
I got two. All right. Yeah. Eugene would be fun.
Yeah.
To say all of the crap that Eugene says. But truthfully, I'd want to be Michonne. Just for the sword, yes. I want to be Michonne.
I say that all the time.
You know what I mean?
That machete, yeah.
Yeah, every time she pulls it, because every time she does anything, it's in slow motion. You know, it's just like you know, if you cut off one head, she cuts off like 7. You know what I mean? And it just and she's in better shape than I am. I mean, she is just so badass. And then maybe they put me in Black Panther too. I don't know.
We can dream. Who else?
Princess looks like a really fun character to play. Yeah. I think I'd have a lot of fun with that. Yeah.
Oh, maybe John Dorie. I think that was.
Yeah, yeah.
You're such a cowboy.
Sling those guns, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd like.
She's like June. I would like to be June some more.
I love playing June so much. I don't know. I think a girl version of Daryl would be fun. Like what would that look like? I like to think about that. It's June. Yeah. All right. There you go.
Gerald.
All interesting choices. No one said the governor, but okay. Here's the next question.
What was the most painful scene for each of you to film?
Physically or emotionally?
Yeah.
Both.
Like which one gave the biggest bruises and which one gave the biggest bruises? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a scene that we have coming up this season where the two of us just go ham so hard that I think like when they finally yelled cut, which felt like an eternity, the two of us had to like walk outside just to get some like fresh air. And I think at one point like my knees even gave out. Like I couldn't even.
What do you mean when you say ham?
Like, just like buck wild.
Like,
just emotionally.
Essentially what we had to do.
What do you mean when you say ham?
Was.
Well, I didn't know if that was like being funny, like you're hamming it up, or like drama, it's heavy emotion.
It's like just
we had to really do jazz hands.
A lot of jazz hands.
Yeah. It was just a super emotional scene that we had.
Well, we had to. Well, we can explain a little bit of it.
Are we talking about the same scene?
Yeah. When we were outside.
No, we were inside.
Oh.
The one in the train.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
we have a lot of very emotional scenes, especially. Which one were you talking about?
I'm talking
the one
about.
Outside.
There was one that we had
I
to
know
do.
What you're talking about.
Where I was like, man, if they could teach this in an acting class, like I don't think anyone would want to be an actor.
Right.
It was so hard. We had to fight a bunch of
that scene.
walkers, and then we were back to back, like arguing, like an explosive, like blowout argument.
Couples
and
argument in the
while
middle of
while we're fighting walkers. But it's also real hard because when you're doing it on the day, you have to like hit so precisely on the stunt walkers that you have to be real careful. So it's like, I'd have to hit like right there and then right here and
you can't be saying the line when your face is like down away from camera, so you have to
So
like
much
be aware of
focus.
like the frame and the stunt. And
it was a lot.
It's a
It was a lot.
But no, the scene
It
I'm
was like
talking about
this,
was just
like doing
so. I mean, there's so much emotion on this show, especially like God, every time. But it just doesn't. I think it gets harder and harder and harder. Yeah. The stakes definitely get higher. But I just remember this one day I couldn't even stand. Like they finally yelled cut, and like my knees buckled and gave out because I was just so emotionally exhausted. But yeah, that was.
I love doing the physical stuff, so I never felt like it was hard doing the physical stuff. But there was one day that I was actually several days during that first season that I was on that we were having these standoffs in parking lots all the time, and so we're in Georgia in July. And there's just the pavement, and I'm standing there, and I've got like 4 layers of clothing on, because the wig actually shaded me from the sun a little bit, but it was all of that, because it wasn't real leather, so it was like neoprene with like shit from Dick's Sporting Goods on tie, with this on and that, and so and one day I just started kind of seeing spots. I was just standing there. And I could just see it starting to spot up, and I kind of passed out a little bit, and I was like, it was just staying hydrated, that season was just so much. They actually got me one of these shirts that had tubes that ran through it.
Those things do not work.
Yes, they do.
They didn't work for me.
Oh man, that was the best massage I ever had.
You know why they didn't work? Because we were on the horse, and you have to plug it in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I couldn't plug it in, so I was just wearing more layers.
Oh yeah, no. So I'm just standing there, and they put this thing on me, and then I start to feel a little woozy. I'm like, plug me in, guys, and they would drag over this cooler full of ice water, and they'd have a motor on it, and they'd hook a tube to it and just shoot this water up. And so I'd just be kind of sitting there, be like kind of exhausted, and then they shoot that water through, and I go, oh yeah, oh
yes.
Woo. They're like stop, and I'm like, oh, no, don't stop. Keep going until I tell you to stop. Yeah, so that was bad, and then it was real good. But yeah, the most emotional I was after Shiva died, and after all of my my army got decimated in the war, and I'm literally coming back to the kingdom, and there was this and the funny thing is when they shot this first shot, it was from behind, so they could see the see everybody's reaction first, and we had kind of gone through this whole thing and came back at the end to shoot this to shoot this scene. And I just thought about the fact that I was going to have to tell all of these people that their brother or their father or their wife or sibling or something that they had all died. And I just gave this huge speech about how we wouldn't lose one person, that we would fight against all odds and we would win. And the first time they opened up those doors of the kingdom, and I looked and I saw the cool thing about the show is that we all of those extras, those performers, they were with me that entire season before, and they were still there, and I saw a couple of familiar faces, and I just bawled, and I was just so thankful that they were shooting the back of my head, because it was the ugliest cry you'd ever see. I mean, it was just, snot running down my nose. And the thing is that by the time I got to the end of that take, I couldn't do it again. It was like, and so what you guys ended up seeing was kind of this catatonic, like the emotion had been drained out of me. It literally had. It come out of my nose and my eyes. And but it was so cathartic and it was so beautiful because all of those extra performers, when I was done with that scene, they all just came over and kind of group hugged me, and it was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm okay, I'm sorry," But it was really just the most cathartic moment I've ever had on film, And actually, all they saw was the back of my head, but it was amazing. Yeah.
My two most painful was both with John Dorie. One was in season 4 in the Laura episode. There's this scene where I'm about to be engulfed and he cares about me and that's what makes him pull his guns back out and he shoots all of them. But there was like all of these stunts with walkers and I'm falling in ditches and I had bruises like the worst, like giant all down my legs. And that was pretty painful. And then emotionally was the scene where I have to like put him down, because we were about to film it the week that lockdown happened. And so we were in the middle of filming season 6 and lockdown happened. So we all went home and I had 6 months to think about that scene, which was kind of a blessing and a curse because I didn't want to be thinking about it for 6 months during a pandemic. It was just like too many emotional things. But it also gave me time to really like reflect on all the ways it could be played or and I wanted it to be romantic and intimate. And I think rather than just emotional, I wanted it to be like a romantic, it's the, I don't know how else to describe that. So, but that was really hard emotionally to like, when the time came and I'm actually doing it, I was like, oh my God, it's so final when you actually have to do that. So that was emotionally, on a couple levels, the most painful.
I think that was hard on all of us emotionally, so definitely.
On top of it, Garrett's like such a sweetheart. It's like you gotta shank that dude, He's such a sweet. He was the job that I got before I got The Walking Dead was on Hand of God, which he was on. And I did an episode and I got The Walking Dead while we were shooting that. And I remember just sitting with him at lunch and just being like, dude, I just got the biggest job of my life. And he was like, really? What is it? I was like, I wish I could tell you, man. And a couple of years later, he was like, dude, can you believe it? We're doing it together. It was awesome. Yeah. So what a cool connection.
All right, next question over here.
Okay, Khary, following up on your response about Michonne, how do you feel about the show not exploring Ezekiel's and her relationship like in the comics?
I'd love to sleep with everybody, but there's only so much time in the show. I don't think you won't find me complaining. Melissa McBride's portrayal of Carol is the fact that she doesn't have an Emmy. I feel like we should just stop having Emmys because it doesn't really mean anything. Because every time I've been on set with her, it's like sitting in acting class and watching someone just open a vein and give themselves. I was sitting across from her. She started crying. During the scene with me, and she said, "I'm sorry, can we stop? Can we stop?" And I was like, "Why did you stop? What's going on?" She was like, "I'm crying for the wrong reasons," and I was like, "What? You're crying for the wrong?" She was like, "Yeah, I was thinking about this other thing that with my daughter, and that's not what this scene is about." And I was like, "You're the only person I know who actor who's like emotionally just it's all over your face." And you're like, yeah, this isn't the right reason. Let's do this again. I'll do it for the right reason this time. She's just amazing. She would find these tiny little things. There was this moment where after Shiva died, and they wanted me to climb up and get back on the throne. And I was like, I don't see how you get up there. I was like, I want to sit down here. I don't want to get on the stage. I want to sit down here, and just kind of wallow in my misery. And she said, "Khary," and she just pointed to the rug next to the throne, and there was all of this hair from the animatronic Shiva that was still just lying there on the, and I was like, And I was like, it was the most beautiful thing. And I just crawled up next to the, I never got on the throne, but it was like those little things that she would give me that I'm going to find my character would never crawl back up there because, he's too emotionally bereft. And she would find these moments, these reasons. And it taught me to not cut things off, not to say no, but to find the reason why. There's got to be a reason why. And she was just so good at that, So I guess no. I guess I'm okay with Carol. That was a long answer, but I'm okay with Carol.
Long answer, good answer. We've got 4 more questions left, so let's make it kind of a speed round.
I just wanted to know how it was working with the CGI.
It was real easy, I've been pretending things are there that are not there forever. I used to get made fun of it, and now I get paid for it. It's awesome. Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, it was great to have a tiger, but not really. But yeah. I love pretending that things aren't there. Yeah, I'm doing this awesome video game that I wish I could tell you about, but it's like a motion capture, and we're shooting it over the course of like a year and a half. And the coolest thing about those things is that you just take a bunch of blocks and move stuff around, and one time it's a helicopter, and another time it's the side of a building, and another time you're standing on top of a tree, and it's like being 8 years old,
Minecraft?
It is not Minecraft, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
All right, next question.
This is for all of you. I got to ask Jerry this question, so I was curious about your answers. If you were able to choose how you died on the show, how would it happen?
That's a good one.
Helping a child.
Ooh, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
you stay number one in their hearts. That's how you do it.
Yes. I definitely think it would be in a self-sacrificing way for love. I think maybe, putting myself out there to protect somebody that I loved. I think that's definitely, that would be the most honorable way to go out.
Yeah.
For love.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No, well, the thing when Ezekiel had cancer, I wanted to. I told the writers, I said, listen, I don't mind if Ezekiel dies. I'm totally fine with Ezekiel dying. I was expecting to a long time ago, so I'm cool with that. But he better go out like a badass. If he goes out laying on a bed somewhere, I'm gonna shoot somebody. I was like, he's too much of a light in a dark place to go out quietly. So he better go out hard. But then I didn't go out at all. So we'll be all right.
And he became a governor, which is good in my book.
Exactly. There you go. You really just want us to be best friends, don't you?
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen.
But I'm sending you a fruit basket and everything. Here's the next question.
This question's for all of you. What was your favorite movie you guys ever played in?
Keeping the Faith.
I love
Great
that movie so much. It's literally the first thing I think of when I think of you. I think of that movie. It's such a different story, It's so good, so good. I remember when you get embarrassed while they're embarrassing you, and you're just sitting there among people. Just so good. You're all so good. But yes, I concur with her. I liked her in that movie. Yeah. I haven't done a lot of movies. I did an independent movie that I produced and wrote called Astronaut, The Last Push, and a funny story about that is it's called The Last Push because it's about this lone astronaut who gets there's an accident that happens and he's just got to learn to live with himself for a very long period of time, and there are these things that happen when a satellite kind of goes out into space. It does these whips around Venus and a whip around the Earth, and it picks up speed to kind of head out into the universe. And in our movie we did that, And I was like, oh, okay, so that's why it's called The Last Push. That's so cool, man. My friend who wrote the first outline, and I thought that was a great, title, and he was like, no, that's not why I called it The Last Push. This is my last push. If I don't make a movie, my wife's gonna make us move back to Wisconsin. We gotta do this, man. And so that's what this movie was about. It was literally about us hurtling through space in this tiny little room, trying to figure out how to stay in Los Angeles and be artists. And thankfully we did it. So yeah, I love that one. Check that one out. It's a quiet little kind of 2001-y sort of movie. Yeah, but I love it.
I think I would have to say this film Bleed for This I did a few years ago. It was written and directed by this guy Ben Younger who did Boiler Room, and it's a sports film. It's about it's a true story based on a boxer that was really popular in like the 80s, 90s, but it is so funny in a very dark way. It was produced by Scorsese, and I think all of us worked on it for virtually no money because the script was just so good. And I have to say, I think that's probably one of my favorite films because we all just really wanted to make a very good movie because the script and the story was so interesting. So I think that would have to be, I think, my favorite film.
Let's see. It's not a film. It's a play. I did a play when I was starting off, and I think about it all the time. But we did a Sam Shepard play. We did True West. Me and my best friend did it in a barn in Austin, Texas.
Wow.
And we funded the whole thing, directed it, bought all the Lone Star beer for it. It was like 50 or 60 people in this barn that was called the Special Magic Barn Fantastic. And it was a 3-week run, and it was probably the best experience I've ever had because we wanted to be actors, and we were trying to do really hard material. We were in this class, and I was asking my acting coach, I was like, what's a good play that we can really like bite our teeth into and learn something from? And he was like, I think you guys should do True West. And we did this, and it was just, you can't see it. You'll never be able to experience it. I'm sorry, but that for me was probably the coolest thing I've done, most special.
Awesome. And we have a final question, no pressure.
What was the most ickiest / disgusting scene you've had to film or be in?
They never wanted to get my wig wet. I never had to get too dirty. I would get dirty, but I didn't have to get like sloppy. They kind of throw blood at me a little bit, but they were like, don't get blood on that wig. It's gonna take forever to clean that wig. So I got to watch people get sloppy. I didn't have to get sloppy.
We get sloppy. We get very sloppy.
Yeah.
I think one of the grossest, God, there's so many, but there was one time we were in a tunnel, and the tunnel was collapsing, and I'm carrying a baby through this tunnel as it's closing in on me. And so they drilled all these holes on the top of the tunnel where they would just pour dirt in repeatedly or just throughout the scene. And so you're just getting like waterboarded with dirt. And it was like going in my eyes and my ears, like I couldn't even see anything. And in between each take, I would crawl out of the tunnel and just like kind of recoup. But you can't just get the dirt out of your mouth. You have to put water in your mouth to spit it out. So you're just making mud. So it's just, you're just spitting out mud and dirt. And we did that for a couple hours. That I didn't enjoy that, really. But that's just one of the things. But there's many moments like that.
I had to crawl through a tunnel with a bunch of rats.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty gross. I was not happy about that. And then I would crawl through, and all the rats would, scurry past me, and then they'd collect all the rats again, and then they let them out again. And And like the worst part about it is like I was crawling, so I didn't want to like knee or elbow down on one, you know, and like smash it.
Oh man.
So that was interesting.
So grossed out right now.
Oh man. I don't know what your answer is, but Austin wins. Austin
No,
wins.
that wins. That takes the cake.
Woo.
No, I think one of the ickiest, just for so many reasons, was the Laura episode when I wash up on the shore. It was the middle of the night. It was 23 degrees, and I was in the actual river, in freezing water and then mud, and then they took like clayish mud to add it all in my hair. And like your body wants to be sleeping, you know, your like circadian rhythm, like as a human being, is like supposed to be sleeping, and it's 3:34 in the morning, and it's freezing, and I'm in the actual river. And that was really hard. And then Garrett had to like pick me up from, and I had to be dead weight, right? And then he was all like grumpy because he was like freezing and had to pick me up, and I had to be dead weight and couldn't help him, and you know. And then him and Mikey were like discussing it and then I was like, they're sitting there having this debate about like how to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like laying in the freezing river, and I'm like, guys, I'm actually like in the freezing water right now. Can you like figure out the plan?
Yeah, that's the problem with Garrett. Garrett always reminds you of how old he is. He's in really good shape, but he's like, man, I've been doing this a long time. You know, I got to get my knee and get that thing to roll on my leg. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable.
It sounds like some hard scenes, but we're going to do something very hard, and we're going to have to say goodbye. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. This has been awesome.
So sweet. Thank you.
This is Ross Marquand, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight, which is awesome. So like, share, and subscribe. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.